Welcome to Crypto Rosetta. My name is Savage. Today we're going to be having a look at Bitcoin. Let's get into the price action and see what's going on. So primarily for the bearish case, we're still looking for that potential that we could have this as 1, 2, 3 down into this low here, looking for a fourth and then looking for that fifth wave as continuation. Now, the invalidation point for this comes at this 27,666, which we narrowly missed out on this move to the upside here. Now, what we could be seeing here is that we could actually still be within this fourth wave, or alternatively, we could be looking for this fifth wave to the downside. So if we are still within the fourth wave, what I would be looking for would be something like this, where if we treat this move as a triangle, what we would have is this is an A wave, this is a B, looking for this as a C, a D, and then an E wave. So this wouldn't have confirmed yet. Triangles only confirm on this D wave touch point, and until it does, we have a couple of other options that this could still be here. So if we do see a three wave move back up into this zone here, a three wave move back to the downside, maintaining this low of this 26,409, then we could be looking for that possibility of a triangle where we look for this E wave to come up one more time here, and then potentially look for this move to actually hold as a triangle here, and then break to the downside after that. And then we'd be looking for a five wave move from that point. So we're going to have to keep an eye on this. The alternative way that we were looking at this was that we had a potential five wave structure here. Now, within this, what we were looking for was the possibility of actually getting a bigger breakdown here, where this is 1, 2, this becomes a third wave, fourth wave, and then we're looking for that fifth wave to the downside. Now, the problem that I have within this count is looking at the internals of this structure here, we'd have to argue that if this is looking to break down in an impulse, the internals aren't that great at the moment. What I was looking for was this 1, 2, 3, but even within here we don't have a nice clean five wave move. So we could argue that there's some kind of an extension in the fifth wave here, where this becomes 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, which would be fine because you wouldn't get any overlap between this wave 1 and this wave 4, but it just becomes really untidy at that point. So we need to just be cautious that this could actually just be a three wave move to the downside. And if this is A, B, C as we have it here, that would then mean that we just have a corrective move to the downside, and we'd have to argue that this would be W, X, and Y. Now, if this is the case, obviously this can't become an impulse, so we need to watch these highs. If we break above this 27,663, that would invalidate this idea of this actually being 1, 2 here. Really, once we start to break back above these highs here towards this 27,487, it would already invalidate the idea that this was starting a wave 2. Now, if we do move back up here, it becomes less likely this is the case because this wave 2 was already substantially longer than this move as a wave 1, so I wouldn't like to see it get any bigger as a correction. If it does, it means that there is something else going on here, and this would not become the most likely count anymore, and we would be looking for one of the other options. So this is still looking for that potential to break to the downside. Now, another way we could look at this, and we did discuss this as well, was actually looking at this move as a completed structure. So this is where we need to be a little bit careful, because if this is a completed move to the downside, what we could be looking for is a wave 2 to the upside, and this would indicate that we are extending out. Where this becomes 1, 2, then we'd be looking for another 1, 2 here, and then basically looking to break down in a bigger way. So this is the more bearish case here, which we'd have to be careful of, and that would be looking at this move as potentially not completed here, where we could actually be looking for a push to the upside towards this higher zone here. And particularly a particular area of interest would actually be here towards this zone of this 28,330, which would be bring us back into that 0.618. Now, this would then be looking for a 0.618 retracement, which would tie in quite nicely with this idea of coming up here. And that could look something like this. So now if I just turn this one off, what we were talking about previously was looking at this as an A wave, this is a B, and then we were saying that there is the potential that we could see a move to the upside and a C wave. So this C wave could actually just be that connector wave in here, looking for this as a wave 2, or alternatively this could even just be an X wave if we want to argue that this is W, X, and then we're looking for a Y wave. Both of these would still be looking for that potential to break down from this zone. Now, this area would be quite an interesting zone, obviously, as a swing failure here, and it could even be that we come back and retest this trend line that we had as a channel here. That would also tie in with this zone here, as well as that, if we do move slightly higher up, we do have some levels within this yellow box area, which could be quite interesting to see a interaction on. Though if we do move up into this box area, we'd have to watch the structure, because it could be that we are getting that flat idea. So this would be looking at that bearish scenario. So if we are not going to get that fourth wave, it doesn't automatically invalidate the idea of a breakdown here, really only until we actually take this high point here of this 29830, we would be invalidating this point. So we need to be careful. This could be setting us up for a bigger drop here, where our 1.618 would actually be down here towards this 22346. If we do actually start to break down in a bigger way like this, we'd have to be cautious, because this would be tying us up for that potential of actually forming a 5-wave move off this high. And if we form a 5-wave move from this high, that would make me be inclined to think that we are going to see a bigger correction from that point, where we're going to see this as a 5-wave structure down. We'd see a 3-wave move to the upside, and then continuation to the downside. Now, some of the other things that we were discussing here was the potential that within this we could see a flat correction. So this is still viable, this idea. Like I said, we came down to this typical area that we look for a flat, and now we were looking for that potential that we could actually see a C wave to the upside. Now, that C wave 1-to-1, that target area is right up here within this zone of this 28,720, and this could actually tie in with this idea of coming back into this yellow box area, where we have monthly naked point of control, daily naked point of control, and the golden pocket is also sitting within this area. Now, another interesting area that would be, see if we actually push up here, is that if we do move up high enough, we also have a 786, which is sitting towards this zone of this 29,813, towards the higher end of this move. So this would tie into coming into the higher range here as a expanding flat. So if we do start to see this C wave develop to the upside, there's a couple of places I would be looking for. Initially, this C wave looking to target out the top of this channel, where we could actually see this end towards this 1-to-1 area. Alternatively, if it is going to be an expanding flat, we could even see this come as high as this 30,673. And then from there, what we'd be still anticipating is that potential to come back down for a C wave. So just because we get a 5-wave move off this low, if it develops where this becomes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this doesn't mean that we are now in a new trend. What we need to be careful of is that this could be flat, and then we break down again in another 5-wave move for that C wave. So we'll have to keep an eye on this area and see how exactly these moves play out, but that is what I'm looking out for here. So if we're looking for the C wave, how will this develop? Now, we could get this in a couple of ways. So we were talking about a possibility of this actually being a diagonal pattern, where this is ABC for a wave 1. Then we could be looking at this as a wave 2, which could be completed into this low. However, really, it's still viable even if we do get another drop to the downside here, for as long as we stay above this area of this 26,197. Now, even if we do get a move to the downside here again, like I said, because this structure isn't great, we could even argue that within this there is some continuation, where we're going to get one more drop here, where this is basically still within the Y wave, or if this is going to be W, X, and then Y. So that could mean that we actually see another drop to the downside here. And if I throw this fib onto this high, what this would mean is that we could see a move down to this 1-to-1, which would actually be here towards this 25,979. Or alternatively, if we stopped short towards that 0.618, we've actually already met that requirement. So we'd have to see, it could actually just form a double bottom here if this is the case, where we come back into this zone, maybe just break this slightly and come down to one of these levels here, either the 702 sitting at this 26,350 or this 26,197 as a potential zone for that if this is not completed. So really, until we actually take this low, this count would stay alive. So this will be the same with the other count. Now, if we have completed here, and we're looking at this as potentially forming a diagonal to the upside, this wave 3 cannot cross this zone of this 28256 if it is going to be a contracting diagonal. What we need to see is this move hold below this level. So we would want to see a three-wave structure, A, B, and C to the upside here, looking for this target area. Obviously, we don't have a lot to go off of here at the moment, but what we would want to see is a move that doesn't cross this wave one's length over here. Then we'd need to see interaction with this wave one high, and then we'd need to see another three-wave move to the upside, which if I take it to just beyond this low point would be looking to actually target out. It could not actually target out higher than this 29418 area. So that would be an area that would be quite interesting, because obviously this would bring us back into the higher range of this box. It would also bring us back into this channel. So this is why I'm keeping an eye on this idea for having a move to the upside, particularly as a diagonal. This would fail to actually achieve these highs of the 786 and sweep these highs, making this a running flat. If, however, this move develops in the other way, which we're discussing, which was looking for that possibility of having a bigger bullish count to the upside, where this just becomes a standard wave one, this becomes a two, and then we're looking for a third wave. Now, confirmation of this would only come by actually getting a much bigger push to the upside here, looking towards this 29745 area. So if we're looking for this possibility, we'd need to break up much higher here, and then we'd be looking for a fourth and a fifth. Now, the reason that I don't particularly like this count is that we'd be arguing that within here we had quite a big wave 2 here in comparison to this wave 4. So it's not my primary expectation this counting this as a wave 1 like this, but technically speaking it's possible. We'll have to see if it proves itself. The price action needs to follow through if this is the case, where we would be looking at this as potentially another 1 2, and then we'd be looking for 3 4 5, looking to push up into this higher range here of this 29745. So this is what we're looking out for in that case of a bullish count. Now, if we want to argue that this whole move is corrective, like I said earlier, what we could have is that this move to the downside could just be a three-wave move, A, B, and C, and then what we could be looking for is a corrective move to the upside. So typical X-wave location would be here between this 29,780 to this 28,270. Now, a particularly interesting zone, once again, bit of confluence with this high, would be this 0.5. So 50% sitting here right on this high. Now, above this, if we do move up into these higher ranges here, this could also tie into coming back into this golden pocket area. So this is why I'm keeping an eye on this. If we just get a three-wave move to the upside, something like this, and we fail to develop a five-wave move, it is possible that this is actually just a completed W correction. Then we could be looking at this as a completed X, and then we'd still be looking for that possibility of breaking down for that Y wave. Now, that Y wave, if we did get a breakdown like this, would be looking to target out this 24,110. So these are the areas that I'm keeping an eye on. You know, we need to see if we can continue to maintain this low. If we do, that can mean that we could see continuation to the upside. If we actually break down one more time but maintain this low, then that would still look for that possibility push up. Now, if we break down past this low, we're going to have a couple of areas below us that are interesting, like I said, from those fifth wave targets, and we have here towards this 25,211. So the last thing I want to do is just go over a couple of things here that I think are quite interesting in regards to some of these moves and giving us some hints as to where price could be going. Now, using the speed resistance fan here, what I'm looking out for is the potential that we could actually see this move look to move back up to some of these key levels here. So what I'm keeping an eye on here is, as long as we actually maintain above this blue line here, what we could see is the price could start to move in this way, where we actually start to break up through some of these levels. And what I'd be particularly interested in is whether there is a interaction between price and this high if we do move to the upside here. Alternatively, if we do break to the downside one more time, what I would be looking out for is that potential to come back into this lower gray line here, which would be sitting back in that zone of that 0.618, and would also be looking to potentially retest these lows here. So if we do get an additional push to the downside, this could actually mean that we continue to respect this channel, because we've broken out of it, we've come back into it, and now we're rejecting off the top end of this. If we do get a move back to the downside, this 0.786 becomes quite a likely target towards the zone of this 26,193. Now, if we are looking at the possibility of a move to the upside, and we're looking for that possibility of that interaction between one of these lines, we need to also be aware we have this downward trending one from the top of this move. Now, if we are looking at this in a possible way where we could be looking for this move to move back through these levels, what we could see is that possibly we move up and we have an interaction at this zone. If not, there is some confluence between some of these lines towards the top end here, and possibly looking at retesting some of these highs, obviously depending on how long it takes to actually move through these levels. This could be something to keep an eye on. As well as that, what I want to talk about is that if we have a look at the volume range of this entire area here, we can see that we actually found support here on this value area low. And now what I'm looking for is that potential to see whether we actually get a move towards this point of control, which is sitting towards this high once again. So, if we do move up into this zone, it could be quite an interesting level to keep an eye on. As well as that, we have this value area high, which is sitting within this yellow box. So we're going to have to keep an eye on this. Potentially, this could be something that we actually see an interaction with here, and then we could actually look to break down from there and possibly even just come back down and retest this lower range. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. If we do move up higher here and we get a bigger move to the upside where this is a 5-way move, what we could actually see is a flat correction that comes back and looks to target out this higher range of the 786. So these are the things I'm looking out for. The last thing that I want to touch on here is that there's potential within the CVD. We can see here that we actually price set a higher low here, and CVD has actually set a lower low. Now this is indicating that at these levels there is absorption taking place by limit orders. And now what this could then mean is that price could actually look to move away from this zone. So this could be quite interesting. And we can see here on the smaller moves here that there is also some absorption going on within this move here. So what I would be looking at here is the potential that within this move, if we did actually see this move to the upside here, particularly into this high, I'd like to see where CVD is, because if we see CVD move up here and it's actually still setting a lower high compared to this point over here, which would be over here, what we would be looking for is that there is the potential that we could see a reaction to the downside again, where we get that bearish divergence here, and we could actually see this breakdown start to occur from this level. Obviously, CVD is something that is continually changing, so we have to keep an eye on it, and it's very subjective. So, I wouldn't use this in isolation. It needs to be in correlation with some other zones that you're already looking at. So that's why I'd be particularly interested to see if we see a move up towards these highs here, and then whether we actually see continuation. Though technically speaking, even if we take this high here and price fails to take and CVD fails to move above this point, you could argue that we would still have a bearish situation in that case. So we're going to have to keep an eye on this. Okay, so I'm going to leave the video there. I hope you found it useful. If you did, please smash the like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, turn on those bell notifications so you never miss a video, and leave us some feedback down below. Everyone have a great day. See you in the next one. Take care.